Wanna hear? Ah, great, the shadow's back of the tree over my shoulder, that's really cool. I'm out and about at the moment, as you can guess. I've been away from YouTube for quite a long time, really sadly, due to a family bereavement. And I found it really hard getting back into things and trying to, keep focused on stuff, really. But I have missed chatting to you guys and to creating videos. So I thought I would start doing them again, especially because I have learnt how to knit socks. So we'll head back to my studio and I can show you what I've made. Hello and welcome to my studio in Somerset. It's Morwenna here, also known as the Creative Adventurer, although to be honest I don't feel like I've been going on many creative adventures recently. That's going to be changing this year. I feel like I am getting back into a bit of a creative flow again after having a really difficult year, which I mentioned briefly when I was out in the field. And this episode really is sharing exciting news, to me anyway, about the fact that I have knitted my first ever pair of socks. Here they are, on their little so I had the blockers for Easter last year, or maybe the year before, I lose track, and I learnt to knit socks, so I'm extremely proud of these, ridiculously proud to be honest, about having mastered the art, sort of the art. And I was able to knit these with the help of the Winwick Mum sock along tutorial. So if you're a sock knitter, you've probably already heard of Christine Perry, who has got a fantastic resource on her website and also on YouTube videos, and a really clear explanation with photographs. You can see I've written all over this, and instructions on how to knit your first pair of socks. And combining this tutorial along with her really supportive Facebook group meant that I was able to knit these. So they're not perfect, but that's totally fine. I mean, it's my first pair of socks. And let's have a look at them in a little bit more detail. So let's have a look at the socks in a bit more detail. Oops, this was the first one I made, and it was a little bit big. It still fits, and here I didn't realise that I was misreading the pattern, so I decreased on every round here, but it still fits the foot, so it's fine. And then when I did the second sock here, I decreased on every other round, so then it's got a shallower shaping for the gusset part. And you can also see that this second sock is smaller than the first one, but I also did that on purpose because my left foot is slightly smaller, and I made them to fit, which is the great thing about the Winwick Mum pattern. You can figure out how many stitches you need to cast on to make a sock that fits you. So I was really pleased with how these turned out, and my heels, the heel flap, heel turn, and the yarn I think is fab. It's this one, it's Opal. Oops, tripod there. It's by Opal, and it was a 25-year birthday yarn, and I just love the way it knits up into this really cool stripes. So yeah, that's my first pair of socks. And I think I also did something wrong. So my toe on that one's not too bad. I used the Kitchener stitch on that, it's not too bad. The first one went a bit wrong here. Not quite sure what I did, but I'm still learning. But I found that it was I really enjoyed making these socks. So yeah, my first pair. I'd love to hear about any of your sock knitting experience, and if you have knitted socks with the Winwick Mum tutorial, or if you're feeling a bit inspired to have a go, do let me know. I'd love to hear about it. It'd be really cool. And the other thing that the knitting of the socks unveiled, not sure the terminology, is that I was chatting to my aunt, and she mentioned, she thought, I'm sure I've got some socks knitted by your great grandmother. And I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty amazing. So my aunt now is 83, and when we were down there at Christmas, she found the socks for me, and this is the socks. So they're really long. I can't fit them all in the screen. So these are the socks that she gave me. So you can see they're pretty long knee-length socks, and they fit me, which is really cool. And I was looking at them in a bit more detail, which I will cut to, and I wondered, having looked at them in a bit more detail, whether there was a way to tell if they'd actually been hand knitted, or I don't know, they just seem so perfect. But then she'd have been knitting since she was a child, my great grandmother, so I suppose there's no reason why she wouldn't have made these. But I wondered if there's a way of telling, if there's a way to tell any visible clues. I've just turned them inside out, so that's inside out. And on the toe bit here, there's these little bits. So I don't know, there's no reason why she wouldn't have knitted them, but just looking at them, yeah, I'm sure she did. But I've just got a doubt in my mind. So I wondered if anybody who's watching this knows about specific details that might indicate the difference between her having knitted them or her having bought them. But I can't imagine, well, I don't know. It would be very easy to get hold of socks like this, but I could be wrong. But yeah, my aunt was sure that she knitted these. Even so, they belong to my great grandmother, so that's cool in itself. And it would be interesting if I can find out a bit more about perhaps the pattern that was used, and whether or not, if there's a way to tell. But I thought that was pretty cool. So I'll be interested in your thoughts on those. So it's sort of, yeah, having that doubt in my mind, I'm thinking, are there? Anyway, I've done a close-up with some more detail of the socks, and perhaps that will help figure that out, and also to figure out, because I would like to knit some, inspired by these socks, to figure out the ribbing and why the ribbing was twisted, why it's twisted in part of the design. Somebody suggested that it might be down to a way of keeping them, a way of them staying up better with a twisted rib. But like I said, I'm very, very new to sock knitting, so if you've got any info or advice or thoughts, do let me know. It'd be great to hear. Thank you. A bit of a closer look at the socks knitted by my great grandmother. As you saw, they're really long, knee-high socks, and they are, looks like they've been knitted with short row heels. I've not done this type of heel before. And then the toe looks like it ends here and then stitched in. It's quite a woolly wool, I don't know if that's what you'd call it. It's very soft and it's got a bit of a halo, so I'm not sure what type of wool it is. It's not scratchy at all. And the rib is slightly twisted. It's the inside. So I think it's pearl and then rib stitches. So let's see if I can count these. 4, so maybe 4 knit and 1 pearl. What do you think? And they do actually fit me, which is quite amazing. I'd quite like to, well, I would like to recreate this pattern myself. So if you've seen any sock patterns like this, it'd be great if you could let me know, share any links with me. So they have got a bit of wear. I don't know exactly when these were knitted, but my aunt did say that my uncle did wear them for gardening. So I don't know whether the wear's from him wearing them or whether they were worn before. But I thought it was really amazing how the fact that I'd started learning to knit socks unearthed this family treasure, because it feels like a treasure to have something in my hands that was knitted by my great grandmother. Interesting cuff as well. If I can do it this way, if I put my arm down it, I can see the rib pattern better. There we go. So it's a standard sock, I guess, but apparently she was still wearing long skirts, long socks, big boots, even when it was no longer Victorian era, but that was her clothing of choice. So there we go, knitting back through the generations. The reason I decided to use the Winwick Mum basic sock along and to learn to knit the sock was because I'd previously had a go at doing Colourwork Socks. So this was supposed to be the top of a sock. I'd got a Domestica course with Charlotte Stone Knits, but because I'd only really recently switched to knitting from crochet, I didn't really understand all the details, the gauge, that sort of thing, and this was way too small. As you can see, it only just fits on this on this here, so there was no way this was going to fit over my foot. And I thought, do you know what? I need to go back, I think. Start at the very beginning, start by learning about the basic sock construction, understand how that works, and then I can look at doing some colour work. So that's what prompted me to do the skirt's fallen down. There we go. That's what prompted me to find a basic sock pattern, and then somebody in a Facebook group I'm in mentioned the Winwick Mum, and then I started looking, and it took me a little while to think, actually that's where I need to start. So that's what prompted that start, sort of a roundabout little way there. And as a result of knitting these, so like I was saying, I find that I was surprised at how satisfying it was, because I was thinking, why is everybody knitting socks? What is the thing about knitting socks? And then until you've actually done it yourself, I think you don't appreciate what fun it is, how satisfying it is seeing it take shape, doing the heel flap, doing the gusset and the heel turn, making something that's going to fit you. So the whole thing with the Winwick Mum, sock along, is that she teaches you how to measure your feet and how to figure out what size sock to make so they're going to fit you. So they're a very tailored sock, which is brilliant. So there's a bit of figuring out as well, which is nice. The next sock I'm working on is this one. It's got a contrast cuff, heel and toe, and the colours, so this I'm calling my disco sock, and the colours here I realised matched my magical animal for this year, which is Gwendolyn the giraffe of disco. And I didn't realise that when I bought the yarn. So I bought this, it's called Perrin yarns, when I was in Cornwall at Christmas, called Unicorn Clouds. So I bought this, and then when I got home, I thought, oh, it'd be quite nice to use this on a sock, but it was quite expensive. It's hand dyed. And the lady in the shop suggested I use it just for the cuff of the project. So I thought that's a great idea. And then I was looking in my yarn stash to see what else I had. And I had this yellow yarn with a bit of a sparkle in it, and this pink one. And when I put them together, I realised they were a really good match for the artwork. So I thought I would make some disco socks. So that's what I've done. I've started. This is one sock I've made already, and you can see I made a couple of errors on it, but that's fine. And my toe on this one, I don't know what I was doing. I think I must have not been paying attention. It still fits fine, but it's a little bit messy, but that's okay. And I decided what I wanted to do, because I had done some wording, be bright, be colourful, be disco. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could put some writing across here? So that's my next stage. So I found I used the Pacific Knit & Co. Small Doodle Letters chart. And I've tried out writing Be Disco on it, and I thought it would be fun to use this yarn as the text across here. But I wanted to do a swatch first, because I've never done any colour work with text before, and I also quite liked these patterns, which again you can get from the Pacific Knit, the Doodle Knits, which is a really cool concept. thought I'd try those out. So I made a little swatch. I didn't have enough yarn to make a swatch, so I used some other yarn. It's currently blocking. Don't know if you can see that yet. So I've got Bee Disco. I'll put some photos in of it in progress of what it looks like. But I'm not sure about the font because the S isn't very clear and it's not as bold as I thought it was going to come out. So I'm going to experiment with some other fonts, I think. And I'd also quite like to have a go at using the actual wording. Let's have a look here. Let's move your side. Actually using the text here and putting that perhaps into something like Stitch Fiddle and seeing whether I can use that as the text for the sock along here. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll show the swatch once that's blocked nicely. But that's what I'm working on next. My little swatch has now blocked and dried, and actually it's not so bad, because when I was looking at it, I was thinking the S doesn't really stand out, but now it's blocked and everything. It's okay, I think. So I'm quite pleased with that. It's a little bit, the bits here are a bit wibbly wobbly, so I need to have a look at a different type of cast off, and I've been given some suggestions of ones to try. Do you have a favourite cast off that's quite stretchy and elastic? And they just did some little testing around the side there. And then the floats are pretty good, I think, inside. So that's it inside out. Quite neat, I think. And the yarn I used for this is this pink. It's a very nice pink. And this has got a blend of 75% wool and 25% polyamide. So fine for socks. But I've made this cuff basically. It's a pattern for a cut cozy, but really I could wear it. I could put it on my wrist. I think a bit tight. That's why I wanted a more stretchy cast off. Bit tight. That's kind of cool actually, having a cuff. Having a cuff with some wording on. That's quite interesting. That's given me some other ideas now. Yeah. So that's where I've gotten to with the socks. I'm going to carry on with my second sock. Now I've done my swatch for this, and I'm going to, yeah, like I said in the top down detail, have a look at some other fonts I think and see if there's anything that's a bit bolder. Although I wonder whether, because the yarn I'm using, this is the yarn I'm going to use for the text, whether that'll actually stand out enough anyway for the second one. I think maybe I'll just try it and see how it turns out. Faffing around with my socks. So I think that's probably everything for today. I had plans. I'm like, oh, it's going to be all nice and slow, and then I get all excited again, and then everything gets fast. But if you've knitted socks yourself, then I'm sure you appreciate the excitement of having achieved this. yeah, I would love to hear about your sock knitting journeys, and if you've got any tips about the kind of toe that you like, the kind of heels you like doing, because I understand there's a whole load of other ways to make socks now that I've dipped my toe in and I've got lots of sock yarn to experiment with and to have a go at the colour work. I would love to hear from you. Please do drop some comments below, and I hope that this has been interesting, and if you've enjoyed this video, please do subscribe. I really appreciate the support that everybody's given me from creating these videos. So I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.